Can we maybe look at an issue or two, guys? Then Sarah Palin goes shopping. That trip into the store to get a bag of diapers makes me want her as the President of the United States. And as the market continues its slow-motion crash, Americans ask, how long will it last, Doc? Tonight, some answers. Hello, America. Last night was the last debate for the president, before the election. All throughout the debate, I'd like to watch it with the sound off. All I could think of the whole time was diapers, because a few times I thought they were both full of it, but those aren't the diapers that I was actually thinking about. Well, these two were yammering last night. They were spending the day just memorizing their talking points and political posturing. Vice presidential candidate Sarah Palin popped into a Walmart in Ohio to pick up a few things, including diapers for her youngest son. Here's the point tonight, America. That is my candidate. Here's a regular woman doing the same things that people like you and I do every single day. A politician who lives in the real world. And here's how I got there. While McCain and Obama love talking about Joe the Plumber. I don't know about Joe the Plumber. By the way, Joe, you should change the name of your company to Joe the Plumber, like right now. When is the last time you think either one of these two clowns actually lived like Joe the Plumber, or felt Joe the Plumber's struggles, or shopped like Joe the Plumber? Which one of them do you think, how long ago was it where they went, yeah, my toilet's all backed up and I got crap all over the floor? Do you think either of them have done that lately? I'm going to keep this brief. Tonight, America, here's what you need to know. I think we're all feeling disconnected from our government, and that's a spooky thing, man. The leaders in Washington are out of touch. You know, they don't have any idea what it's like to be an average American like you. But before you throw your hands up and think, nobody gets it, think back to yesterday when a mom had a little boy who was out of diapers, and she said to the Secret Service, pull the bus over for a second. We're going to Walmart just to pick up a few things. She just happens to be running for vice president at the time. That's my candidate. May not be this time, but I'm going to be watching her for the next 4 years. Joining me now to talk about this and more on last night's debate is Julian Julian, how do you say your last name?
Zelizer.
Zelizer, I'm sorry. He's a professor at Princeton University, editor of Rightward Bound, Making America Conservative in the 1970s. Princella Smith, she's the chief advocate for American Solutions, and Michael Reagan, radio talk show host and GOP strategist. Michael, let me start with you. 8 points. Did John McCain do enough to turn this around? He's 8 points behind.
Well, I could use the old line, Ronald Reagan was a friend of mine, and John McCain ain't no Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan was actually 8 points behind about this same period way back in 1980.
But he was no Ronald Reagan. But I will tell you,
but John McCain is no Ronald Reagan.
Yeah.
I think one of the problems, and you bring it up, is people watch the debate and say, but I don't trust Washington. Do either one of these guys really get it?
Neither one of them. Princella, do you think either one of them reached out and said, look, America, I get it. I get it. And you don't trust. There's a reason why we're so close and we've been campaigning for 2 years, because you don't trust either one of us. And just speak to the American people.
You're exactly right. This race was essentially tied until the big crisis with the economy, and that's really just a backlash against the sitting party. You're exactly right. At American Solutions, we talk about this all the time. They're completely out of touch. I like what you said about Joe the Plumber. It did sound a bit ridiculous, but what they should have said, what Senator McCain should have said was, look, Joe the Plumber, we get it. They need to have bumper stickers that says Joe was right, in the sense that you have to make this simple for the average American. Okay, either we're going to redistribute your wealth, or we're going to give you an opportunity to grow your own wealth. Which one makes more sense long term? That's what America is looking for. And right now, neither candidate has truly answered the question. Barack Obama's rise is just simply a bounce from just people, a backlash against President Bush.
Julian, I can't figure out, now you're a historian, you are a history professor at Princeton University, and I'm interested in talking to you on a couple of things, because I've heard some of your viewpoints, but one of them I really want to hit is, I don't know of a time where we have had, maybe you have to go back to FDR or Woodrow Wilson, where it is where we are talking about progressive, leftist, Marxist kind of ideas, where unabashedly we're going to move wealth from here to over here. Have you ever seen this in the recent history? This is a pretty radical kind of place that we find ourselves in now, isn't it?
Well, the last time liberalism was strong was in the 1960s with the Great Society. After that, it was really in Congress rather than the White House that you had strong feelings for liberal views. I'm not sure it's Marxist, but certainly Barack Obama has a set of prescriptions that revolve around government intervention to help out with the economy. That said, so does President Bush.
Oh, I know.
Think that's what makes it a little different, this debate.
Well,
if I can jump in for a moment here. Because one of the issues that, I mean, if you've been reading the papers lately, end of the Reagan era, it's all over, it's all done with. And somebody called me from Washington, D.C. the other day and said, your father would have supported the bailout. My answer was, with my father, we never would have been in that position to have to get a bailout from Washington, D.C. People need to understand conservatism works. The Republican Party walked away from it, and because of that, we're in this trouble.
Yes. Okay. So, Michael, let me go back to you. Julian just said that he doesn't think what we're seeing now is Marxism. Well, what the hell is it? Corporatism at least. But how do you define Marxism if it's not taking the wealth from one person and giving it to another and leveling the playing field so everybody's equal here and the government coming in and controlling everything?
Goes back to Plumber Joe and that whole answer, that Barack Obama gave him about sharing the wealth, letting that person below him get up there and be with the plumber. But something, one of my callers said last night, the best way John McCain could have ended the debate was very simply say, if you want socialism, vote for him. If you don't want it, vote for me. Because that's the big argument going on right now is, do you want to be a socialist society or not? And of course, my problem is that John McCain also creeps down that path.
Oh, yeah.
Only you and I can bring him back.
Yeah, well, Princella, I don't know if you can bring him back on that. Princella, if you look, it's not just a one-guy movement here. I may be more afraid of Congress than I am of Barack Obama. I mean, if there was any kind of balance in Congress, it wouldn't be as terrifying. But if you look at who we are putting in charge of this country, assuming Barack Obama would win, you have Pelosi, Dodd, Barney Frank, Harry Reid, Murtha, Biden, Kennedy. My gosh, this is not where America is. This is where San Francisco is.
Glenn, I'm going to quote my boss now, and I hope he's watching, former Speaker of the House Newt Gingrich. In our last newsletter, he said, if you think, obviously, the Bush-Paulson version of economics has failed us, unfortunately, but if you think that was bad, just wait till the Barack Obama, Chris Dodd, Harry Reid, Nancy Pelosi group gets in there.
And we've left out unions,
Barney Frank,
environmentalists.
I'm getting there.
Al Gore.
Exactly right. I mean, you're going to have more litigation. You're going to have more government, higher taxes. And what I don't think that many people in the American electorate are fully getting and grasping this message, because Senator McCain has to do a better job of giving this to them. He needs to do exactly what Mr. Reagan said, which is, look, the reason why you're upset is because Republicans weren't governing as conservatives. That's why everyone's upset. That's why we
But you know what? I don't want to hear it from somebody who doesn't actually believe it, and I'm not convinced he believes it. Do either one of you guys look at John McCain and actually say, you know what, I do believe he will do what he believes is right. I believe he'll buck his party. I've seen him do it over and over again. But do any of you guys, all three of you, do any of you actually believe that John McCain is a true blue fiscal conservative?
I think it's hard to know exactly what John McCain stands for. I think kind of the negative attacks are not going to work. I mean, I think what John McCain is lacking is what Ronald Reagan offered. He offered a very coherent vision of what conservatism was, how it would renew the country, how policies such as tax reform or tax cuts, in his mind, could restore economic growth. I don't think we really know what McCain stands for, and I think last night's debate didn't help him.
Well, I think John McCain, no, he's not a fiscal conservative, but he's a far cry from Barack Obama, who will never get there at all, especially if he has a 60-vote majority in the Senate of the United States of America, along with, of course, Pelosi and all the people in the House of Representatives. That's what's scary.
Here's what I want to do. I want to take a break, and I want to come back with you guys and And I want to talk to you a little bit about, and Julian, maybe you can start us on the last times that we've had a filibuster-proof Congress led by liberals, and what that means, and what do you guys think is going to happen in the first 100 days? You know, what are we going to look like in 4 years from now? Coming up in just a second.